Hello everyone and welcome to a brand new episode of the Sports Insight with your host Alamdar Khan. And yes, as you know, we give you sports information from all across the globe. You guys can surely reach out to us on our social media handle, which is at the rate of Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. But anyways, we're going to start off with obviously the interesting thing that's happening in terms of Pakistan versus West Indies. Yes, we surely would want to discuss the in-depth analysis of the test itself. Not to forget, Pakistan lost the first test, but it's interesting how Pakistan is making a comeback in the second test. To discuss the in-depth analysis of the world of cricket, we have with us Awais, who is definitely first-class cricketer. Not only that, he was the overseas warrior in KPL's bowling coach. Awais, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Alamdar.
Great. So, Awais, would want to discuss with you in terms of how Pakistan is currently performing in terms of making that comeback, I think, which was surely necessary, and obviously talking about Fawad Alam and his another major victory in terms of the scoring of 124 not out, adding a lot of value to Pakistan cricket team's test score.
It was superb, I would say, especially from the Pakistan team, from the Pakistan batsmen, I would say. I mean, I know still there are complaints about the opening pair. Unfortunately, it has not been clicking up from, I would say, from many matches. I mean, Imran Butt is one of them. Then you got Abid Ali. He has been consistently, he's a flop. He has not been clicking up for Pakistan, and that's a major concern for Pakistan. Azhar Ali too, I would say. But I remember when he was the captain of the Pakistan team, he was under a lot of scrutiny and he was under a lot of pressure. But now he's not the captain of the Pakistan team, so he needs to realize that what he is in the Pakistan team, that if he performs with the bat, he would be with the Pakistan playing 11, but unfortunately, same things goes on with Azhar Ali. It's just your 2 to 3 batsmen in the middle order who have been performing on. So, in the longer run, I would say, Alamdar bhai, it's a really concern for Pakistan that they really need to figure out your opening department. Shan Masood has been doing an exceptional job in the domestic structure, whether if it's the Qaeda-Azam Trophy, whether if it's T20, he has been consistently performing well. Unfortunately, Sami Aslam, he has left the country, but he was one of the good, I would say, test match player for you.
Right.
So your batting opening has been a concern. Rest, like you just mentioned about Fawad Alam, a guy who has been out of almost 11 years, I would say.
Right.
11 years career has been wasted of Fawad Alam,
right,
who has scored around 13,000 plus runs in the first-class cricket for Pakistan.
Right.
A big name. If you just see his matches, what he has come back for Pakistan, there were all many pressure innings what Pakistan wanted someone in the middle order to build up, and he has converted that into 50, into hundreds.
Right.
And if you just watch it, even the last inning what he played against West Indies, when Pakistan actually were in a major trouble, when all the 3 batsmen went for single score. So
right,
there was need of a big partnership what Pakistan could play on, and Babar Azam again playing his master stroke with Fawad Alam. Fawad Alam
right,
scoring 124 runs, had a superb job for Pakistan. Rizwan again coming back into the party, unfortunately not able to deliver to 50 runs, but still whatever he had done, 31 runs was a good nick for
right,
Mohammad Rizwan. So it's just your opening department which really needs to work on.
Right, and I think it's about time because we always talk about the situation in terms of Pakistan cricket team in terms of their opening batsmen, and we still do not have that capability of a solid team in terms of, and right now we're talking about test matches, and I think these test matches are what truly makes and builds a team. If we go back into the first test, if we look back into the first test, obviously Pakistan lost, but at least at the end of it all, I still remember that at least in the end, what I saw was a struggle. If we don't see a struggle, that is definitely a big question mark. So I think they're trying to, but when will this top order issue come to a conclusive side? We all would want to know when.
See, Alamdar, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, if you just go by the comparison of Pakistan and West Indies team, which is right now playing in the test matches, if you go by the comparison of West Indies especially, they are one of the teams who have made a global name in the T20s. I mean, the cricketers, they play around the world, the global T20s around the world. They are
right,
mainly more into the, I would say, into the T20s, but unfortunately not into the test matches. They have been struggling on to find a perfect test match team. Still,
right,
if you just watch the West Indies batting lineup, yes, they have done job what they could have done for the, I would say, for the test match. They have got some players, but they are not that ones who can actually who are big names in the test match, who can actually survive longer innings. I mean, they are youngsters. They are especially the ones who have performed well in the Caribbean Premier League for them.
right,
So obviously, I would say it would take time for the West Indies, but unfortunately for Pakistan, it's the batting. You rightly pointed up. I mean, when not now, then when is it going to come? If you just watch it, it's unfortunate that Pakistan Super League, it's one of your major tournaments, but it's unfortunate that you have actually made Pakistan Super League your selection criteria even for the test matches. A guy performs in one or two T20 matches and he's directly opted even for the test matches. You don't see his I would say 1 or 2 years of experience, what he has gone through, lot of scrutiny in the Qaid-e-Azam Trophy, which is your major tournament, where the batsman actually goes through many ups and downs, where you actually have to grind yourself. You
Right.
need to figure out the experience campaigners, but it's unfortunate for the Pakistan. I would say many players were capable of representing Pakistan, but it's unfortunate they have left Pakistan. Like Sami Aslam was there, he was dropped off. If you remember, he was one of the promising Test cricketers, but
Right.
unfortunately he's not there. You got Shan Masood, like I mentioned, he has been performing superbly well in the domestic structure.
Right.
So it's again, I would say yes. Abid Ali had been given a lot of chances, but he needs to go back to the domestic, perform well, and get back to the
Right.
Pakistan team. And especially about Imran, but I would say, see, there are two things. Are you making him play as an opening batsman for Pakistan, or are you just keeping him in the team as a fielder?
Right.
Are you comparing him as a Jaunty Rhodes in the other way? I would say you need to have some runs from Imran, but I mean he's one of the finest cricketers in the domestic structure. But unfortunately, he has not made that big impact in the international arena. So it's a really concern for the Pakistan team, for the Pakistan selectors. I hope so. The new company coming up for the Pakistan selection, the lot of changes are being held up in the Pakistan Cricket Board. So they really need to think about the Pakistan Test team now. The T20 is going on good. The one-day team looks good. It's your Test team which needs to be sorted out.
Right. Well, let's hope because, in terms of players, sometimes when they are unable to perform, they can definitely go back into the domestic league and they should not give up. The point is, for those who cannot perform in the top, obviously, when we talk about our major team, it's our major team and we need to have the perfect slot, the perfect team, even if it's batting, even if it's bowling. If it doesn't work that way, I think it would surely create a long-term impact. Look into the situation right now. We're moments away, literally to be honest, in terms of this, we are literally half month away from T20 World Cup. Do you think we're ready for it? Because if we talk about Test, I think Test is one of the major ones. But do you think Pakistan is ready or not?
See, I mean, if you just watch at Alamdar, the recent performance of Pakistan, even T20 especially, I would say, there has been not consistently, I would say, what Pakistan T20 side was known for.
Right.
I'm not saying that you need to get Sarfraz Bhai as the captain, what we won the Champions Trophy, or what Pakistan was rated one of the number one positions in the T20.
Right.
But what that team was, I still feel, I know many of them might argue with me, but as a fast bowler, I still feel that you will have to get Wahab Riaz, Amir back in the team. You know why? Because when I'm speaking about that, especially for the bowling lineup, why am I speaking? Because if you just watch out the bowling lineup, you have got Hassan Ali, who has been doing an exceptional job. You got Shaheen Shah Afridi, but again, you need a strike fast bowler on the other end with Shaheen Shah Afridi, who can actually get regular interval breakthroughs. I mean, see, there are two things. You have got one strike fast bowler. On the other hand, you got a fast bowler who actually contains your economy, who does not let the batsman to go for free slow runs. That creates pressure on the batsman.
Right.
So you need to have that kind of a bowling combination. For batting, you have tried a lot of combinations in the middle order, but believe me, without Mohammad Hafiz and Shoaib Malik, I don't think so it would be a great idea for Pakistan to enter the T20 World Cup, because you really need Shoaib Malik in between, and especially Mohammad Hafiz, because you're going to be playing the T20 World Cup in UAE, and that's condition where the ball spins. So obviously, I think so they would try the level best to change the little bit atmosphere of the wicket, because the T20 around the world, it requires more, I would say, flavor of getting more runs
Right.
on the board, even getting that chased on. They will try the level best, but again, you need to be mentally ready that it's going to be a spinning track over there. So
Right.
you need someone in the middle order who can be brilliant against the spin bowling lineup. So Pakistan has got, I would say, not many series before the World Cup. You just said like it's just half a month. I would say not 1 month also. It's just half a month away the World Cup team, and unfortunately, still we are figuring out that who's going to open up in the T20 World Cup. So this is really alarming situation for Pakistan, and they really need to sort this out.
Right. Would also want your take, a quick take with regards to, obviously, we are still, we're talking about Ramiz Raja becoming the PCB chairman. Obviously, Prime Minister Imran Khan has also mentioned it that, he wants him to be on board, and obviously they did have a meeting. What positives do you see in terms of Ramiz Bhai's vision? Because I think with his vision, I think things may turn out good for the world of cricket for us.
See, I mean, there are two things. Alamdar bhai, there's one is that you're good in cricket, but you're not good in administration.
Right.
And it's not important that a cricketer can be a good administrator. It's two different terms, I would say, in the cricket
Right.
or anything in the world you do on.
Right.
Ehsan Mani Saab had done a good job, I would say. I mean, he had been the main part of the ICC too. But
Right.
Ramesh bhai, if you just compare, because he's one of the cricketers who has been all around the world, who knows game inside out, who has played for Pakistan,
Right.
and he knows the domestic structure of Pakistan too, who's performing and who's not performing over here.
Right.
But he would obviously have a lot of, I would say, burden on him, because if he's the chairman of the Pakistan Cricket Board, because it's a thing we always say that to captain Pakistan, to head the selection committee, or to be the chairman of Pakistan,
Right.
it's not an easy job. You need to be a bad boy to be that. Seriously, you
Right.
need to be a bad boy for that.
Right.
You need to know how to actually play with. You need to be mentally strong, I would say, when you're
Right.
dealing with the Pakistan cricket.
Right.
So it's really going to be a test for him. But I hope so. I don't know whether I personally feel so that Ramesh bhai needs to bring in his company
Right.
to run the cricket of Pakistan. It was. They have the previous teams or the previous boards have done a good job for Pakistan, but again, Alamdar bhai, I would say it might be a boring topic for many,
Right.
or it might be an old topic for many. But I personally feel so that if you're getting the chairmanship of Pakistan Cricket Board, you really need to think about a school cricket and the domestic structure.
Well,
Because school
absolutely,
cricket
Avais.
was the
I
one-
hope our ultimate objective in terms of cricket is we want the best for the country and obviously for the PCB itself. Well, once again, thank you so much being a part of the show and discussing the in-depth analysis in terms of the world of cricket with us.
Thank you.
That was in-depth analysis in terms of how Avais see things happening for Pakistan cricket team. We also talked about, PCB itself, the entities, the bodies that actually govern changes. Let's hope things develop further ahead, better for Pakistan cricket team. Anyways, guys, we'll take a quick break. Once we get back from the break, there is more coming in from the world of sports. See you guys after the break. And yes, welcome back. And yes, before the break, we were discussing the world of cricket, but not to forget that we also discuss pretty much all sorts of sports from all across the globe. So we're going to talk more about the English Premier League. Yes, talking about the English Premier League, obviously things have started pacing in English Premier League. And to discuss the in-depth analysis of what's truly happening with obviously the major changes and major additions to various teams, we have with us Matt all the way from UK. Matt, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
So Matt, obviously the new season begins, and obviously it's interesting to see how English Premier League has taken its charge again. So would want to discuss, I'll begin with obviously Arsenal's losing against Chelsea and talking about Lukaku making his first club goal. So what's your take in terms of this match, and then we can further discuss the rest of the matches.
Yeah, it was a big game. It was the big game of the weekend here in the Premier League. For two different reasons, really. A lot of excitement at Chelsea because they finished the last season so well.
Right.
Since Thomas Tuchel came, they've been excellent. Obviously won the Champions League, and then added Romelu Lukaku and the club record signing, 97.5 million English pounds.
Right.
And he made his debut against Arsenal. And the Chelsea fans all remember how Didier Drogba used to torment Arsenal for all those years, and Romelu Lukaku started the same way. So great excitement for Chelsea, a brilliant win, an excellent start for Lukaku, who looks like he might be the striker that they've been looking for since Diego Costa left Stamford Bridge. And on the other hand, Arsenal, a huge game because the season has started so badly. Arsenal with all their illustrious past and great years under Arsene Wenger, and they've started the season. Well, they finished last season poorly, or they finished in the lowest place for years last season, and they've started this season with a defeat at Brentford.
Right.
Now they have Chelsea coming to the Emirates and beating them, and next for Arsenal is Manchester City. So great discontent at Arsenal, but the way that the season started, and lots of questions already about Mikel Arteta. Only 2 games into the new season.
Right. And, talking about Arsenal, definitely a lot of question marks on their performance in the last season. And I don't think, I think ultimately the club, someone will have to be answerable in terms of their performance. And yes, obviously having a solid start for Chelsea to begin with, because obviously Chelsea were the champions, in terms of the previous one. But the point is, eventually now Arsenal is going to face Manchester City, as you mentioned. I think they're definitely going to have a very, very hard time.
Yeah, I think patience will run out quite quickly at Arsenal if this form doesn't turn. They've had a couple of poor seasons, but being willing to stand by Mikel Arteta as a guy who knows the club and who has a vision and who's always shown leadership qualities as a player and has studied under Pep Guardiola. So there's a lot of hope for him, and a lot of people thought it was the right appointment when it happened. But Arsenal now have spent a couple of years spending a lot of money and getting a lot of players in, many of them young players, and hoping that they develop into better players in the future. But it doesn't seem to be coming together. It doesn't seem to be coming together quickly. And if this poor start develops into something more, then I think you might see changes at Arsenal this season.
Right. It's basically the initial momentum that I think truly matters in terms of clubs getting out there in the initial matches. And, if they lose their hope, I think in the long run, it would definitely create a different sort of momentum for them as a team. And I think then it would be very difficult for them to make a comeback, in terms of their performance.
Yeah, once you get stuck down in the wrong part of the table, then it becomes difficult because the whole vibe around the club becomes a little more negative. And Arsenal have many young players. They've probably not been in this position before. They not the ideal players to be fighting away down at the bottom to try and get back. And once you've lost 9 points on the leaders, then you're almost already out of the Champions League places, and you slip a little more, and the vibe gets low, and their big players are missing. They've been hit by a few players testing positive,
right.
COVID, including Lacazette and Aubameyang. That hasn't helped when they got their big players out at the time when they need them most.
Right. Let's hope the momentum goes in the right direction. I would also want your take with regards to, obviously, Tottenham winning against the Wolves. So what's your take in terms of this match?
Well, another excellent result for Tottenham and a good start for Tottenham under their new manager, Nuno Espirito Santo. He was back at Wolves for this game, so it was an emotional game for him personally.
Right.
And of course, all eyes were on Harry Kane, who was in the squad and started on the bench and came on. I had a good chance actually, but didn't convert it, couldn't score.
Right.
And went across to the Spurs fans at the end of the game and cut a lone figure, sort of wandered across on his own and applauded them, and they applauded back, to mutual respect between the two. But a few people were wondering if that's the last they may see of him in a Spurs shirt if the transfer talk accelerates this week and Manchester City actually come back to the table with a better offer.
Right.
Spurs might start to listen.
Right. I would also want you, with regards to, obviously, we have a lot of fans when it comes to Manchester United. What an interesting match. But obviously, it starts off with Southampton's own goal to begin with. But then, obviously, Manchester United also managed to, make that their score, which is obviously Mason Greenwood to begin with in 55th minute. So what's your take with regards to this match in particular?
Probably a disappointing result for Manchester United after such an excellent start to the season with 5 goals against Leeds. I think they would have liked to have gone to Southampton and won, but it's always difficult at Southampton. They are one of those teams who can produce a strong performance on their day and produce a shock result, and they went in front against Manchester United. I think once United equalised, once Greenwood scored, they would have expected to go on and take control. Lots of things to like about United at the moment. I mean, this is another away game unbeaten, which extends that incredible run. Paul Pogba looked in good touch again yesterday. He started the season well, and of course they've still got their big signings from the summer to come in. So I think reasons to be positive for United, although they will look at that as 2 points dropped, and maybe there'll be a point in the season when they look back at Southampton and think they may regret those 2 points lost.
Right. I would also want your take in terms of, if we look back into, obviously, Liverpool itself. Obviously, they have had a good start as well, luckily, because if you remember, or if you go back into the previous season, things were very tricky for them at the very start. Obviously, I think, and we talk about Virgil van Dijk to begin with, he was probably one of the reasons because of which things weren't good for them. But I think they are right now at a very stable situation in terms of their performance.
Yeah, Liverpool are interesting, aren't they? Because they're very much under the radar at the moment. No one's making a big song and dance about them. They're not particularly active in the transfer market, although they've done bits here and there. But I think that when you look at how well they finished last season and how well they've started this season, they're going to be strong again. They got their defenders back. They've got their injured players back, including Van Dijk, of course. They've got their strikers scoring goals, Jota again, and young Harvey Elliott, who made a great impact. He's a teenager. They signed from Fulham, and he's been out on loan. Spent last year at Blackburn, and he caught the eye against Burnley. I think a lot of people were impressed with his performance. So I think Liverpool will be quietly confident. They'll be pleased and thinking they're back in their rhythm, and this season they could do good things again.
Right. And one of the interesting things that, what I'm looking at, of course, as you mentioned, Manchester City versus Arsenal is surely an interesting take. But there's another take that we should definitely be watchful for, which is going to be Liverpool versus Chelsea.
Yeah, Liverpool-Chelsea is always a big game now, isn't it? Ever since the rivalry created when Benitez and Mourinho were at those clubs, it's been a game that's carried a little bit of extra rivalry and spice. And yeah, it will again. We've still got the transfer window open here for another week or so. I think a lot of what happens will hinge on that, whether Manchester City do go on and actually acquire Harry Kane. That will be a big factor in what happens this season.
So,
Chelsea is still chasing.
Are we still looking for that transfer window to be open? You just mentioned, because I think it is the last week of it, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, it is the last week. I think there are maybe 8 days to go, but I think it could be quite a busy 8 days. Chelsea still want to add defender, and Manchester City. I wouldn't be surprised if Manchester City have another go at Harry Kane before it closes.
Well, that would surely be interesting. I think that would definitely add in more value to the whole situation. But once again, thank you very much for being a part of the show and discussing the world of English Premier League with us.
Thank you.
That was obviously Matt's in-depth analysis with regards to English Premier League. And when we talk about the upcoming matches, yes, we are truly interested in terms of Manchester City and their match against Arsenal, which is surely going to be interesting. It is on Saturday, but if Arsenal continues on the same direction or the trajectory, it would surely be difficult for them. Not to forget, Liverpool versus Chelsea is surely another match to be looking on to, which will be on Saturday, the 28th of August. So we'll surely give you in-depth analysis and the updates as soon as it happens. Anyways, guys, if you want to reach out to us, you can on our social media handle, which is @Indus News Sports. That works both for Twitter and for Instagram. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Bye-bye.